How's it going, everybody? Firstly, I hope you guys don't mind the background noise running rampant that you might hear every once in a while. It's traffic. There's a lot of it because it's close to Thanksgiving. People got families to return to. It's out of my hands. I live next to a pretty busy street. Not much I can do about that, so hopefully it's not too intrusive while I give you guys a small disclaimer before we get this video started, and it involves YouTube fuckery. I know, it's YouTube fuckery. The sky's blue, you don't say. Well, apparently it's been affecting a lot of channels, and I'm not sure if it's affected mine as of yet, but hey, let's not take any chances. So apparently people that have find themselves subscribed to channels have been finding themselves unsubscribed for no fucking reason. Nobody knows the issues of it. And then there's the issue of content creators uploading videos and losing subscribers while doing so. And people are not sure if it's a purge or whatnot, and nobody knows any solid answers as of yet, to my knowledge. I mean, as far as I know, as soon as I'm recording this, someone's found the answer to it, and I'm wasting my time doing this. But in the meantime, assuming not, there's apparently a way to mitigate this, and it involves a little bell icon you see next to the subscribe button at the bottom of this video player. And you know, folks, I'm not one to tell you guys, if you like this video, subscribe. If you like this video, like it. If you dislike this video, dislike it. Because I always firmly believed that that was, you know, common sense. You know, I believe in, like, annotations. Like, at the end of a video, I'll link you to other reviews if you like what you see. Then I'll give you a shortcut to that other content. But, you know, to tell people to subscribe to something if they like it, to like something if they liked it, to dislike something if they don't like it, that's common sense. That goes without saying. You know, just because you tell me to subscribe doesn't mean I will. You know, I'll be the judge of that, and I firmly held on to that belief since I started making this channel. So this is the only time I'll do something like this. If you're subscribed to this channel, thank you very much, first off. But we need to go above and beyond now. There's a bell icon next to the subscription button. Click on that, and YouTube will give you notifications as to when your favorite content creators will upload their videos. I thought that's what the subscribe button was for in the first place, but apparently not anymore. We got to go above and beyond, and apparently that's the way to do it. So I appreciate if you take your time. It takes less than a second to click that button, and hopefully nothing else will come from this. This is the only time I'll have to do this. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, on with the show. With the next couple of handheld Sonic games. Known as Sonic and Tails 1 and 2 in Japan, we know them as Sonic Chaos and Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble. Both I've only dabbled in momentarily. When I was young, I had this real stupid ass mentality where the Game Gear games couldn't possibly be as good as the Genesis games. They're 8-bit. They can't does what Nintendo don't. Some shit like that. So I played them for a bit, then I dropped them off. Not thinking about them, not for the Game Gear, not in collections, none of that. Until this video. Let's begin with Sonic Chaos, a peculiar name and one that makes it a bitch to look up on Google because the search results always lead me to Chaos from Sonic Adventure. Sonic Chaos would be the last 8-bit game to see both a Master System and Game Gear release, and the Master System version, like Sonic 2, was European exclusive for years until Americans finally got it on the Wii Virtual Console in 2009. And obviously, the biggest difference between the two is the screen resolution, so won't spend too much time on that because I already talked about the kind of issues it brings in the last video. But in all honesty, smaller screen or not, it's not too bad this time, for reasons I'll get into very soon. Also between the versions, some Act 3 stage layouts were slightly altered. They don't give you as many rings for boss fights in the Game Gear version as the Master System version does, making things just a tad more intense, you know, just a tad. As for the plot, not really one there. Dr. Robotnik is collecting the Chaos Emeralds, so Sonic and Tails make like disgruntled parents on Black Friday to try and beat him to the punch. What's funny is that despite being such a major plot element in some sense here, the Chaos Emeralds are still entirely optional to collect. In this game, you have to collect up to 100 rings. Afterwards, the game then immediately warps you to the special stage. I like that idea despite the enormous ring quota. One of the biggest pains in the ass in Genesis Sonic 1 and 2 was meeting the ring requirement and then trying for dear life holding on to them until you reach the end of the stage, or in Sonic 2's case, reach a checkpoint. There's 5 Chaos Emeralds to collect in Sonic Chaos, the final one given to you should you collect them all and beat Robotnik in the end. There's no extra stage to unlock by getting all the emeralds this time. There's only one difference between getting the emeralds or not here. Do you want to see Sonic run with Chaos Emerald graphics behind him during the credits, or not? That's it. These special stages are quite a fickle bunch. Except for the first special stage, you're not getting most of these on your first attempt because most of them require strict memorization of the level design, where to jump, what walls you can bust, and you gotta do it all fast because there's a time limit. Again, with the damn tubes. 2 special stages are full of this shit. Indeed, the special stages are a bit challenging. And I know it may seem odd to some of you that the special stages are the first thing I'm talking about with this title, but there's a reason for that. These are the most you're gonna get out of this game. Sonic Chaos has to be one of the easiest, if not not the easiest Sonic game I've ever played otherwise. Let's assume you're not going for the Chaos Emeralds. You can clear most of these stages just by holding right and jumping, and I am not fucking joking. With a couple of exceptions, these stages were about 30 seconds long, some even less so. I can now see why this game is called Sonic Chaos, at least in America anyway, because the hunt for the emeralds are the real challenge. Sonic Chaos is otherwise a game you can finish in under half a goddamn hour. You know, I always thought the amount of coins New Super Mario Bros. 2 gave you was overkill, but obviously, that was an homage to this game. Sonic Chaos fucking showers you with rings. It's all to make sure you have more than enough opportunity to reach the special stage, because again, it requires 100 rings to reach. But if you intend on playing this like a normal Sonic game, you'll be maxed out on lives, continues, the whole shebang in just a few acts. Hey, I guess I can recommend Sonic Chaos to kids looking to get into the franchise and if they find the Genesis games too tough, but Sonic Chaos is borderline shallow. The boss fights are pathetic, even the final one. You can choose between Sonic and Tails for a slightly different adventure, but given how super easy this game is, you don't really get to take full advantage of their abilities, which is a shame because Sonic has a spin dash in this game, which works great, and he even has the super peel out from Sonic CD. There's also some new power-ups here, like the rocket shoes, giving Sonic temporary flight for a couple of seconds, and the pogo spring, allowing Sonic to reach new heights in platforming, as long as he doesn't hit a wall. Oh, you bitch. But unless you're using them to grab those rings for Chaos Emeralds, they're underutilized, mainly because you use one for a couple of seconds and then bam, the stage is over. Tails has his trademark flight, though it's a little weird to activate here. Normally in other games you just hit the jump button twice and there you go. But in Sonic Chaos you can only begin flying at a standstill, and you have to hold up on the D-pad and then hit the jump button. It's a bit intrusive and stilted, not having the same flow from Sonic 3, but to be fair, Sonic Chaos predates Sonic the Hedgehog 3 by several months, so they were probably just getting the right feel for it. I wouldn't even recommend playing as Tails in this game. He's not allowed to get the Chaos Emeralds here for some reason, so you're guaranteed to finish the game in a 4 for the time it takes Sonic, given how utterly basic the levels are here, but what's the point? I guess he's the easy mode for an already easy game? That's overkill. Sonic Chaos's real challenge is in the special stages. They're not very hard to reach given the number of rings you'll be choking on throughout the game, but that's all this game has. I mean, it looks great, the zones are colorful, Sonic and Tails pop out with their new sprites, that's all good. Musically, I don't remember much of it, but every time I hear the beginning of Mecha Green Hill Zone, I think of Zero's theme from Mega Man X. You hear it too, right? Sonic Chaos is sort of like Sonic CD, where they want you to explore these zones to grab those rings and complete those special stages, because playing it normally, it just doesn't work. But at least in Sonic CD, the design was still inherently more interesting when you just wanted to go right, bash some badniks, go through S-tubes, loops, and bash Robotnik's face in. And say if you didn't want to waste time with time traveling to break all those robot generators, you still had the option of the time stones, which were rewarded to you in a classic Sonic fashion. There's no such alternative in Sonic Chaos. If you don't go after the emeralds, there's nothing much else here. So let's move on to the second game of the Sonic and Tails lineup, Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble. Named so because we got 3 villains for this game. Dr. Robotnik is back to show you his shiny Chaos Emerald, and he's rocking his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog design in the box art for some unexplained reason. Duh. Knuckles makes his Game Gear debut, and he's back as a bad guy after once again being duped by Robotnik to work with him. This game takes place after Sonic 3 after all. And there's a new player in town, Fang the Sniper, known as Knack the Weasel in America for a short bit. He's a bounty hunter hired by Robotnik to find and collect the Chaos Emeralds for him. They're scattered across South Island again, and once more Sonic and Tails team up to stop Robotnik, slap some sense into Knuckles if applicable, and send Fang the Sniper back to Sega Purgatory. Mighty is in need of some company. You'll only really run into Fang if you decide to go after the Chaos Emeralds though. Thankfully, he's a total fucking klutz. He gets himself into shit, and his boss encounters are absurdly easy. This guy doesn't even realize the power the Chaos Emeralds have, he's just collecting them for money. He's the kind of guy that comes in 4th place in a 2-man competition. Off the bat, I want to say, Triple Trouble is better than Chaos, and just to make that clear right away. The graphics are great, I can't see much for the music again unfortunately, but this game makes better use of Sonic and Tails as characters. It takes longer than 30 seconds to clear most of the levels for starters, both characters can get the emeralds now, and power-ups are used to greater ability here, even if they are a little harder to come by. There's even an attempt I stress, at giving some levels some set pieces to set them apart from other zones. Nothing amazing, but I admire the ambition. It's what made 8-bit Sonic 2 stand out, for better or worse. I would say my biggest critique of Triple Trouble would go to the level design. While visually vibrant and longer than the previous game, and actually designed with the Game Gear's small resolution in mind as this is the first Game Gear exclusive Sonic game, someone in the team had a fucking hard-on for springs. They are all over Triple Trouble for different reasons, and I know for a fact this was done on purpose because Triple Trouble lets you roll into a ball in midair after hitting a spring. Normally that's supposed to leave you vulnerable, but this feature, which I admittedly find neat, allows you to land safely on the ground or take out an airborne threat with no ring loss. But on top of that, Triple Trouble even lets you hold on to some of your rings when you take damage. I think you only lose 30 at a time, so if it's above that, you're not dying just yet. But at the end of the day, air roll or not, I'm going boing, 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 more than I usually do in a Sonic game. And I'm so fucking glad it's on 8-bit hardware and not Rise of Lyric. The sheer abundance of them makes a lot of the stages feel very similar, and quite frankly, awkward to travel across, especially when going for secrets or emerald monitors. In Triple Trouble, emeralds are collected by grabbing 50 rings and finding this emerald monitor. It's really no different than how you got them in Sonic 2 on the Genesis, but there's only one emerald monitor per stage, as opposed to the many checkpoints in Sonic 2, so you gotta do some hunting, but that hunting usually involves fighting with the game's controls and springs. Triple Trouble doesn't control bad per se, and maybe it's just me, but there's some slightly noticeable input lag. It's only a real problem with precision jumping, but that's what you're doing to find the emerald, sometimes with springs, so it's something you have to put up with if you want full completion. Do you have to get all the emeralds? Not at all. Once again, the difference between getting them all and not is superfluous. We still haven't seen a Super Sonic in this lineup yet. You're only missing out on the Fang encounters, which are again piss easy to deal with, and this game's special stages. You want to talk about Spring Central, look no further than these, fucking Christ. But two of them also involve flying in a plane and collecting rings coming towards you like in Sonic 2, but Death Perception will be your worst enemy here, and the plane moves so slowly. Also, the rings only count when they touch your head, instead of the whole damn plane, and that keeps fucking with me. I expect to collect the rings of the plane and then nothing happens and I go into a panic. Fuck you. And come on, what's with the 8-bit games and fucking tubes? What, is it a running gag? It's like a Sonic handheld failsafe at this point. Press for time? Tubes. Creative juices running dry? Tubes. Need the game to be longer? Tubes. And maybe throw a werehog in there for measure. Triple Trouble is so far the best looking handheld Sonic for the Game Gear. Like, I'm really impressed they managed to reach this sort of technical finesse on this sort of hardware. Whether you go for the emeralds or not, it's a solid 2D adventure that's only marred by its somewhat repetitious level design and short length. It's longer than Sonic Chaos for sure, but still a little over an hour. I won't give the game too much shit for how short it is. They knew how short the Game Gear's lifespan was, that little battery guzzler. Triple Trouble is a nice little distraction. I'd say something to consider if you love 8-bit games, and if you love Sonic, and are looking for something to take your mind off things temporarily. And that concludes the Sonic and Tails duology. I don't have the biggest expectations already when heading into the early handheld stuff, because this is a time when Sonic was still getting his feet wet. They weren't sure what worked, and they weren't sure what didn't work, and they had to hope it all paid off in the end. And it's not so much a big deal nowadays because the games are just so cheap to come by now. But now we're getting into the heavily experimental phase of Sonic's handheld life. And we got another double header for the next video. Well, I'll get more into detail with what I'm covering next time. See you then. Actually, I don't even know why I bothered fading to black. I have to show you guys the annotations for other content. I'm working on some new graphics and they're still under construction. So in the meantime, here's me. Here's pointing at the top one, which is my previous video, and the bottom one, which is all my other videos. There's over 130 of them, I think. It's a long time coming, but hey, I'm proud of that.